Hi everyone, I'm Cora and this is Crimes Across Borders. Today we've got a case that's been bugging a lot of people for years, and it's a mystery that just doesn't add up. The disappearance of 24-year-old Patryk Palczyński sounds like something straight out of a crime thriller. There's mystery circumstances, ocean waves, luxury yachts, and a possible murder executed with a chilling precision. But the investigation was a different story. Instead of a high-stakes thriller, it plays out more like a grainy, black and white film about incompetence and dead ends. Right from the start, things just didn't add up, and instead of really digging for answers, the authorities seem more focused on writing it off, as it's very often the case. First, they said that he ran away, then that maybe he faked the whole thing or even took his own life in some strange and really elaborate way. But let's rewind and start at the beginning. Patryk was an only child growing up in a seaside city of Gdańsk in Poland. His parents were really passionate sailors, and from a young age, he was already spending most of his time on boats and yachts. What started as a childhood hobby soon turned into an all-consuming passion and lifestyle. Patryk decided to tie his future to the sea, and he enrolled at the local marine university, but he couldn't exactly find a degree that matched exactly what he wanted. So he decided to drop out, and he started working on boats, doing international cruises, and basically living his dream on the water. His first trip lasted a year and a half, and his second trip took him to the Caribbean for 6 months. Patryk's mom says that he was always really open and loved talking about his travels. It just had been the two of them since his parents' divorce, so they were really close and they would talk a lot and often. But after his last trip, something changed. His family and friends noticed that he was a little bit different, more withdrawn, more secretive. He would spend hours in front of his computer, he would leave the house for a few hours, then come back, and he would constantly message someone either by text message or on his PC. And if his mom walked in, he would cover the screen or shut it off. And she knew it wasn't like him, but at the time she was also dealing with some other family issues and just didn't have the headspace to really dig deeper. And I guess it's probably the decisions she regrets to this day. In April 2010, Patryk started planning another trip. This time he refused to say where he was going, only hinting that something big was in the works. His mom didn't push. She admits she's a little bit superstitious and didn't want to jinx it. In the days leading up to his departure, he went to the local office to officially register his residence. It is not weird. It is something he always did before an international trip. This time he listed New Zealand as his new place of residence, but whether this was his actual destination, that was never confirmed. It could have, they don't check it at the time, so it could have been any place that just came to his mind and it wouldn't be officially checked by anyone. On the day of his departure, he said that he didn't want his mom to drive him to the meeting spot, but she insisted a lot and he eventually agreed, but still asked to be dropped a few streets before. It was late at night when they said goodbye, and he told her that he will walk the rest of the way alone. That was the last time she saw him. Shortly after, she received a text message, "I'm here, I need to turn off my phone for now." She replied to him, but her messages never went through. His phone remained off from that moment. Patryk's mom knew she might not hear from him for a few days. Being far out at the sea made communication difficult, but as the time passed, her anxiety grew as well. He always found a way to check in every few days, and something about the way he left this time just didn't sit right with her. It wasn't just the sudden secrecy, but he also barely packed anything. Just few clothes and very little money as well. He packed some euros and a $50 bill. After 3 days of silence, She started reaching out to his friends, hoping that maybe someone had heard from him, but no one had. One friend said Patryk mentioned delivering a yacht to Amsterdam. Someone else remembered him talking about another trip to Caribbean. His mom couldn't shake the feeling that he was deliberately giving different destinations, almost like he was planning to cover his tracks. 3 weeks passed, and with no sign of him, Patryk's mom decided she will go to the police. But instead of taking her concerns seriously, they just laughed it off, telling her that he was an adult and had probably just run away from a toxic mother. And if I had a dime for every time a parent hears that while they're trying to report a missing person, I would have a lot of dimes. It's not the first time, it's not the last one, but it still boils my blood. Desperate for answers, she started searching on her own, digging through his computer, but what she found only made things more unsettling. It turned out that Patryk had over a dozen of email addresses, but the last 3 years of his digital history had been completely wiped. Then on the July 14th, a fishing boat spotted something floating in the water about 7 kilometers from the port entrance. It turned out it was a body, and since Patryk was a missing person, they contacted his mother. There were no documents found, but Patryk's mother immediately recognized the clothes. It was the same outfit he wore the last time she saw him. There was one item that didn't belong. It was a small necklace with a turtle charm. His mom said she never seen him wear or even own anything like this. He wasn't really a jewelry person, and being on the boat all the time, it wasn't something comfortable to wear as well, so he never wore any type of necklaces. Aside from the clothes, it was impossible to identify the body, as the time he had spent in the water had caused significant deterioration, and to confirm the identity properly, they would need to perform a DNA test. But there was no urgency at all. The lead detective went on vacation, telling Patryk's mother that without the confirmation of the body's identity, the investigation can't move forward anyway. But he even suggested that maybe they weren't looking for Patryk's killers at all. Maybe Patryk had killed someone else and dressed the body in his own clothes, then disappeared. Like, quite random thing to suggest at the very beginning of the investigation, but okay. So days went by, and Patryk's mother still held on to the hope that maybe he was out there somewhere and someone knew something. And she was in a city one day putting the missing person posters when a passerby stopped her and told her that there was an article in the paper confirming that Patryk had been found. And the worst part is that the police hadn't even notified her or her ex-husband or other family members. They informed the newspaper first, and not the family, the newspaper. It makes my blood boil that once again, a grieving family had to learn such devastating news from a random news report or a random passerby. That wasn't even the only thing they managed to screw up. According to the official statements, Patryk's hands were tied with a rope, and 2 concrete slabs, big concrete slabs, were attached to his body with orange nylon straps. In his clothes, they found the wallet without his documents and $20. The bags he had with him when he left the house were also missing. Now, the concrete slabs tied to his waist weighed about 23 kilograms, and they weren't from that area. And the forensic hydrologist stated that the body could enter the water from the pier, but it could also enter the water from a boat that was placed somewhere within the port area. To everyone's shock, the officials ruled Patryk's death as a suicide. They were saying that he jumped in the water at the seafront plaza in Gdynia, and then the sea currents carried his body all the way to the port in Gdańsk. The prosecutor pointed to a few things Patryk did before he disappeared, like deleting emails from his computer or cutting his long hair, as signs that he was closing a chapter. But there's the thing, he couldn't actually explain why Patryk would want to take his own life. The only thing they had was a comment he once made to some friends about wanting to die at sea. That's it. That was the only reasoning, which for me, it's kind of random considering anyone who's so passionate aboutsy would say that. Like, this is not such a weird thing, I think. Patryk's family was in a complete shock. They just couldn't accept the police and prosecutors' conclusion. No one had seen Patryk leave the train station in Gdynia, and no security cameras in the area around the seafront captured him. If he had really jumped off the pier with the concrete slabs around his neck, in that area someone would have definitely seen him. Especially with all the party goers that weekend, there was always a lot of people there. It was nice, bright, warm summer night. That place was not deserted. It was very popular. It's highly unlikely that no one would see such a bizarre scene. But after months of back and forth with the district attorney, the judge ruled that the case could be reopened. But honestly, it did not change really that much. From the start, the investigators hadn't put much effort into preserving any evidence. One of the big mistakes they did was when they found the body, they cut the rope without bothering to investigate the type of binding or even taking a photo of it. Apparently, when the forensics showed up at the scene, the police photographer had to step aside to change the film in his camera. And by the time he came back, the body was already removed from the rope and from the straps. There's no evidence, no record of how that binding looked before it was removed. So we don't know if it's something that a person could tie by themselves, on themselves, or if it's a very advanced and very specific type of a binding. We have literally no information about it at all. Eventually, they did check the rope and they found the DNA of 3 people on it. One of them belonged to a forensic expert who probably just didn't wear gloves at the scene, and the other 2 they couldn't identify. But they just brushed it off. They said that the rope was probably old and many people could have touched it before, and they didn't even bother to see if it belonged to a specific type of a boat. Those ropes like this, sometimes they're quite specific, so there's a good chance that they could match it to a specific place, but they didn't go into that direction at all. They did check the stomach content during the autopsy, but all they reported was that it was mostly empty, which did leave some room for the possibility that Patryk could have been alive for some time after he went missing. Patryk was wearing this fancy aviator watch, one of those self-winding watches, and the day it stopped was the 8th of June. But when his mom asked for the watch to be properly examined, they refused. Which is a shame because those watches, they have a lot of interesting features, the whole self-winding thing. I think if they did some more testing on it, perhaps it would give them more clues on the timeline, maybe even the whereabouts of Patryk. And of course, no one could explain the missing money either. He had a $50 note on him, but they found 20, and the other money he had on him was gone as well. Poland is not using dollars or even euros. They're still using their own currency, so he wouldn't be able to just normally spend that money, especially that it seems that he got a $20 bill change, so that is quite bizarre. They also never found the 2 bags Patryk had with him, and they did look in the port, in both of the ports in the water, but they never recovered those bags or his IDs. So what about the surveillance cameras, you will say? Well, by the time the investigation started, all of the footage was gone. No official recordings of Patryk's last movements, nothing to help figure out which direction he went after leaving his mom. They also couldn't find any companies or ships that might have hired Patryk, even though there are plenty of boats passing through the city and the 3 nearby ports. Patryk's family believes that the police didn't really put that much effort into looking. And here's something else worth mentioning. Just 3 days after they found Patryk's body, a young woman named Iwona Wieczorek went missing in the same city. And I've already covered her case on this channel, so if you're interested, you can check it out. Her case got a lot of media attention, and suddenly all the police and all the media focus shifted to her disappearance. So yeah, that's the strange and honestly quite heartbreaking case of Patryk Palczyński. I mean, there's just so many things that don't add up, and the police didn't seem to put much effort into looking for answers, and his family was left with so many questions. I often wonder what really happened that night, and why was there no real follow-up on things like his watch or missing money. I just feel like they gave up way too quickly. I find it really strange that they didn't secure the surveillance footage just after they found the body. I know they didn't have full confirmation that was this person, but knowing that most of the footage gets erased, like they still should go ahead and secure the footage. That could have changed so much. They could have actual timeline, whereabouts of where Patryk went. Maybe they would see who he met, and they have nothing, literally nothing. It's like that person just said goodbye to his mom and disappeared into thin air. When the city full of people, full of cameras, he just disappeared into thin air. And then just a few days later, we have this whole other case with Ivana Wieczorek, another missing person in the same city. She was all over the media, and suddenly Patryk's case just kind of faded into the background. And it's really, really heartbreaking, because at this point, Patryk's family will probably never get the answer that they really deserve. If you have any thoughts or theories about what could have happened, drop a comment below. I would love to hear your take on this case. Or if you have any other unsolved mysteries you think I should cover. Thanks for sticking around and listening to this one. I will see you soon with another case. Bye.